I play a lot of video games. It has been my favorite hobby for about, 15 years now, pretty small length of time, and during that time I have a personal favorite game, that being the humble Gacha game. And I know by saying that a ton of people are instantly calling in anything I have to say in a question, and that's fair. But me personally, I enjoy the aspect of being able to log in once every handful of weeks and pull for a new toy that I can play with in a rapidly expanding world. However, I'm not going to sit here and say that most gacha games are good, because let's be honest, a vast majority of them are pretty bad. And trust me, throughout my years, I have seen a number of really bad gacha games, and today I'd like to discuss an aspect of that. You probably read the title, How to Kill a Gacha Game, but I'd like to clarify a few things ahead of time. This isn't necessarily talking about dead gacha games, more so things that you can do to kill them, thus the name How to Kill a Gacha Game. And while there are obvious few answers that I can go for, I'm not going to be that guy that takes the low ball and points out games like Tower of Fantasy and Yokai Impact 3rd. Matter of fact, there are two games that I've already put in my crosshair and I'll be going after them today, but by all means, if you have your own experiences, then I encourage you to leave a comment letting me know about it below, because believe it or not, I actually read all of my comments, and not like most YouTubers, when I just say I do, I actually do. And god damn, some of y'all have some really bad takes. And while you're down there, do me a favor and like the video, and if you think I've deserved it by the end of the video, go ahead and subscribe. I really appreciate that. Also, one more thing, if you're interested, I have a server down below. We're going to be adding sections for a lot of gacha games, including the one that I mentioned before, and I'd love to see you there. That all being said, I'm just going to jump right into this and fuck everything else. Obviously, the worst thing you can do as a gacha game is disrespecting your players, which you would think that's such an obvious thing not to do, but man, some companies really just can't help themselves, huh? I'm going to take you back in time for a little bit. There's this hit indie game that a ton of you probably haven't heard of called Genshin Impact. And man, that game is great, huh? A free open world game with 200 hours worth of high quality content, a vast sprawling open world, and co-op features. Isn't that awesome? Not only that, they're adding to the game pretty consistently. It's a pretty good game. And you know what? People's wallets seem to agree, because Genshin has made $86 million per month in the past few months, and that is a ridiculous amount of money. And yet, despite their immense profit, Genshin cannot help but just spit into the mouths of the people that play the game and enjoy it. And the fan base is so thirsty for any attention from Mihoyo, they will drink up that spit like it is the most hydrating thing ever after they have been lost in the desert for 3 years. Some people might tell me this take is controversial, but the proof is in the pudding, and the pudding is really thick. Case in point, the very first anniversary of Genshin Impact. For the uninitiated, allow me to explain something to you. Anniversaries are very important to gacha games for a ton of reasons, but the main reason being they are a celebration of success from a company. You see, as a free-to-play game, you don't have a very soundproof business model. Your game's not going to make any progress or any headways unless people actually play the game. And even if they play the game, you're still not going to make any progress unless people spend money on the game. It's for this reason most gacha games never make any money to begin with and end up shutting down before the first year. So making it to anniversary for any gacha game is a huge deal. It's a celebration for the player base who managed to get you to this point in time. And it is the culture for pretty much every gacha game to have big rewards and prizes for the player base once they hit an anniversary, because of course this is a time for celebration. We've made it. But Genshin didn't see it like that. The heads over at Mihoyo decided that instead of giving us a proper anniversary, they were going to give us a pittance. For Genshin's first anniversary, they did a couple of things. They gave us 10 free pulls through a login system, which, yay, I guess. It wasn't really that big of a deal, because 10 wishes is 1/18th of a limited time 5-star, so it wasn't really anything special. On top of that, all players would receive a notice in the mail that when clicked on would take them to a special web page which would show them a number of things, like how much more have they spent, how many primo gems they collected, how many characters they own, their most used character, etc, etc, etc. To the uninitiated, this may sound cool, but this is basic information that you can find anywhere inside the login or in the archive of the game. It is literally nothing you don't know any other time. But hey, the only reason why most people watched it to begin with was for the rewards promised at the end. And what were the rewards? 60 whole primo gems, 1/3 of a wish. And that was it. That was all players got for the first anniversary of one of the most profitable gacha games of all time. And the response? Expected. Players near instantly began to kick back at Genshin, and Genshin did the only reasonable thing they knew how to do and instantly started silencing all criticism. If you spoke ill of the game, well, you would be banned from the Reddit. They locked down their server for the most part, and any mention of it in general would be instantly deleted. Unable to express their rage, a majority of the community took their fire elsewhere. They began to harass the VAs, they began to leave a number of hateful comments underneath not only the miHoYo app, but other apps in general, and on top of all of that, the player base began to spam Chi-Chi Fallen, which was an emote in the server, in every single Discord server channel for a very, very long time. And typically, while I'm against harassing and leaving hate bombs like this, I believe this one time it was justified because miHoYo brought it upon themselves. Tried to screw over their player base, the player base retaliated, they tried to censor and let it blow over, and then naturally the fire spread elsewhere. That was their own fault, and it was pretty much the only way players were able to get in contact with the company. And you know what? It worked, kinda. I mean, for the most part. miHoYo eventually backpedaled and they turned what was supposed to be a paid pack into a free pack that everybody was gonna get for logging in. Oh, did I forget to mention that? miHoYo planned to sell a $20 anniversary pack to all players, but after the backlash, they scrapped the idea, took the rewards from the paid pack, and distributed it in the mail as an apology gift, trying to write it off as if that was always the intention when it wasn't, and they specifically mentioned it was gonna be a paid pack before. And that seemed to settle the player base's rage, at least for the most part. What was supposed to be a celebration of the player base eventually turned into a contest, and I feel like miHoYo's entire intention was to see how low they could go in giving player bases rewards while keeping them happy, which is something I pointed out in my original YouTube video, which started me making content on the first anniversary of Genshin. And you know what? I was right. It was a test to see how low they could go, because next year for the second anniversary, we got the exact same amount of rewards. But you already know that story, don't you? Or at least most of you do. But let me talk about one you probably don't know about. There's this funny little gacha game I've been playing off and on for about 8 years now. And this game, I would argue, is a prime example of how to not run your game and how to kill your gacha game. Yet, the IP is so profitable that they've been able to stay afloat for a very, very, very long time. So long, in fact, that about a week ago, the franchise celebrated their 10th anniversary. It's a franchise you've probably heard of if you're American. It's called Yokai Watch, specifically the mobile game Yokai Watch Puni. To the 5 Puni players that are watching this video right now, it's our time. To the rest of you who have no clue what this game is, sit down, because you're in for a story. Let's talk about the very first flaw with this game, and that being they have no clue how to monetize the game. When Puni first came out, you were able to infinitely grind the premium currency on your own time. By entering battle and getting a decent amount of score, you were able to turn that score into money, and that money could be used to spend A on the gacha, or in the shop, or to level up units. On top of that, you could use Y money to bypass the game's baked-in stamina system by purchasing Spirit from Spirit Shop, which would allow you to play the game indefinitely. Sounds pretty great for the most part, right? Yeah, well, here's the problem. Basically, the meta was 3 attack boosters, score booster, and a targeted attacker that could deal damage. However, the problem was, Puni could only get players excited by power creeping their old characters, and the more they power crept, the easier it was to make Y money. The more Y money you made, the easier it was to keep playing and to keep cranking on the gacha so you could get the better units faster and faster and faster. Eventually, they removed the 3,000 Y money for a normal crank and replaced it with an event-exclusive crank, kind of like the event banner in Genshin, and this crank was more expensive. It was 4.5 thousand Y money, but pretty much anything that was worth pulling was only in this crank. But power creep is a wonderful mistress. Eventually, the SSS rank got introduced. By the way, the ranking system for this game is abysmal. It goes E, D, C, B, A, S, SS, SSS, Z, ZZ, ZZZ, and UZ. But when the SSS rank was introduced, they introduced this really cool character named Goku Orochi, or Goku Vinoct if you're an English player. And somehow, he was able to deal a ridiculous amount of damage anywhere. And instantly, players figured it out and started farming 32,000 Y money a battle. $30 worth of cranks every minute. Economics classes must not exist in Japan hand because, oh my god, was this abused. Pretty much immediately after Goku Orochi came out, players that were worth their salt maxed out their Y money instantly. And as you could imagine, it broke the economy of the game. 4 years into Puni's existence and their economy is broken. So what did they do? Naturally, they turned Y money into the most useless fucking thing ever, and they introduced Y points, which were another currency, this time a premium currency, that was much more difficult to grind and much more expensive. But man, Puni just can't help themselves because their economy continued to get fucked. Around 3 years ago, in 2020, hackers became a really bad problem on Puni. Speed hacks and damage hacks were allowing players to earn 500,000 Y points a day by farming gates. And for those of you that don't know how much 500,000 Y points is, that's roughly around $2,000 worth of in-game currency. So instead of implementing anti-cheat like they should have, what they did instead was punish existing players by lowering the rate that Y points could be earned in every single event type, thus making the margins much higher for them while screwing us over in the long run. And as you could imagine, the hacker problem got worse and worse. As the Y point gain went from around 30 per battle to 10 per battle, less than a third of what it was before, more and more of the hardcore players quit purchasing money and just quit the game. The rest of them started to hack, because why would I farm for 3 hours to get the exact same thing I would get before? Also during this time, they introduced the Z, ZZ, ZZZ, and now the UZ rank. All of the introduction of these ranks lowered the rate of the highest tier in the gacha, while making it harder to grind Y points, thus making it very difficult to make any progress in the game whatsoever. While all this is going on, the hacker problem only gets worse and worse and worse. It's not uncommon for leaderboard events to be swarmed with hackers. Eventually, they'll get 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 tournament rounds done in a single day. And to put that in perspective, I've been playing this game for almost 7 years, and my pro account can't do that in the entire event period, and they're getting it done on the first day. So what has happened now? Well, obviously, the economy of the game has been broken twice, and Puni has taken up to punishing the pro players by making Y points harder to grind in order to stop hackers instead of implementing an anti-cheat. And I guess on the 10th anniversary, they finally decided that enough is enough. On the 10th anniversary of the franchise, Puni updated the game, and when they updated the game, they added a new rank in the form of a UZ, a bunch of quality of life features, and a bunch of really cool things. Sounds really cool, right? Yeah, they probably were. Unfortunately, nobody was able to play the game. For the first 3 hours that the 10th anniversary event was open, the game was literally unplayable. Matter of fact, they had to have emergency maintenance almost immediately, and that shut down the game for another 2 hours. After that, the event was playable. Cool. All was well until finally the anniversary event part 2 rolled around. And guess what happened again? That's right, the event was unplayable. This time, not just for 1 hour, not just for 2 hours, not just for 3 hours, but 4. Once again, there was emergency maintenance and the game was forced to shut down. Once players were able to log in, we noticed a number of issues. The game was unstable. It was pretty much impossible to do anything you wanted to do. Load times were doubled, and occasionally you would just be straight up kicked from the game. There was emergency maintenance again. Game comes back up. An hour later, emergency maintenance again. Game goes back down. It comes back up 2 hours later. We last for 3 hours this time, that's a new record. Emergency maintenance again, and this one doesn't end until reset the next day. So congratulations, on your anniversary, your highest profiting game has been shut down for about 17 hours of the first day of the main anniversary. But it gets worse, because Puni finally decided they were gonna put the foot down on the hackers. They were gonna stop them, but they did it in the worst way possible. They implemented a system known as Apgar, and for the technologically illiterate, all you need to know is this thing blocks displays and things known as sketchy behavior. The problem is, it is very bad at detecting what is a hack and what is not. Oh, did you play Puni on a mobile emulator because it actually runs good? Oh, sorry bro, banned. Did you use an auto clicker to farm Y points because you have a job and a social life and you don't have time to be grinding the same game all day? Banned. Just like that, a majority of their player base is once again being punished because of the hackers. Now I'm sure you're thinking, oh well, so what happened to the hackers? Oh, well naturally, they did what they always do when they work around Puni systems. 5 whole minutes after the update came out, hackers already found a way around it. And how do I know? Because I used it. Because now, the only way I can use my auto clicker is through a hack software, which is so ironic. Obviously, I'm not risking losing my main account, it is an alt, but still, that is ridiculous. So basically, what I'm saying, if you're making a gacha game, use Puni as an example of what not to do. They broke the economy, they broke their game, and they've punished their pro players in an effort to stop hacking and fix their own mistake. Next time you watch one of my videos where I'm complaining about Genshin, just know that I'm complaining about Genshin out of a place of love. When I complain about Puni, I'm complaining out of hatred. This game, man. That all being said, that's the video. If you like it, like it. If you dislike it, dislike it. If you're like me, go and subscribe. The Discord server is linked down below if you want to join. That all being said, see you on the next video. Stay safe, and peace.